let's take a look at this game itself. At the moment in time, we do have got Matilda as well as Stephanie that's currently being banned out right now. Coming in from both coaches, of course, with Everlasting Love, we've got coach user 279182734645, and for coach Cryptic on the other side.
Yeah, a little bit easier. I think we're missing out a one ban. I think the first ban for either team, so we'll get that sorted out. But in the meantime, there's the Matilda and the Granger being banned out by the side of Everlasting Love. I almost say evil once again.
Wow.
It just
Rolls
confuses
off
me.
the tongue.
So you know that if Everlasting Love goes into the playoffs, there will be two teams with EVLs in their
That's
squad
kind of
roster.
annoying, huh?
It is really annoying, especially for us,
Yeah.
for casters, because
Yeah.
we want to give you the best performance in this game. We are still unsure about the first ban from either side, but it's going to be the Fanny and the Chip getting banned out for the side of Ignite. So Lucas will be the first pick from EVL, unless...
Unless.
Okay, there's Boxer being banned out. This is
Okay.
the first ban.
Boxer's banned out as well. We're just holding our breath.
Phobias.
But okay, for now, at least what we're looking out for is a Lucas pick from the side of Everlasting Love.
Yep.
And of course, the Phobias onto Ignite Gaming. So one thing that we know about we know about Lucas is that the moment that you give Lucas that early game advantage,
Yep.
he's just gonna snowball out of it. So one of the few ways that you want to kind of combat that.
Phobias and Kimmy being picked up. We'll get the API sorted out.
Yeah, I
just
think it's a
little bit.
Kalea. Yeah,
It should be a
it's
Kalea, but
Kalea.
yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
Kalea, then Fanny,
Yep.
then Chip. So there's
Yep.
a little bit more shifting around thereabouts. The Kimmy and the Phobias I like, counteracted by the Juicin and the Gato Kacha.
Okay, okay. Okay, so far, I'll say that definitely for Ignite, right off the bat, we should be looking at kind of a death ball kind of death ball kind of synergy. Not much of front to back, but for EVL, definitely more towards the front to back kind of thing, right?
Yes.
We can we still gotta have to decide if whether it's truly front to back based on the marksman that they are eventually gonna be picking, but not again, IG, not again. Uh, it worked out once. Okay, let's just put it
and it
that
was
way.
on Everlasting Love's
Yeah.
plate up against the
IG did the same thing. Right?
Everlasting Love did the same thing. IG is doing the same thing right now that
Yeah.
Everlasting Love did against the previous team.
Yeah, but the difference is this time they have a Kimi instead of the Loi. I would say that Loi, if they want to play the Fredrin into the Juicin, at the very least having a Loi
would have been much better.
helps a lot more when it comes down to
Agree.
relocating and
Agree, 100%.
yeah. So now with the Kimi, you don't really get that kind of utility cross map plays that we are expecting to see, especially since right now IG's lineup is not that fast paced.
Yeah.
They don't have that kind of that kind of ways to play around it. But fortunately for Everlasting Love, they themselves also don't have that kind of mobility to play around, except for probably for the Gadakacha. But I don't expect Gadakacha to be wave clearing and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, true, true. For the side of Ignite, though, banning on the Moskov because they don't want to deal with the side wave pressure. I think Moskov provides a lot of that potential for that. For the side of Everlasting Love, I do like that they ban out the Estes because they are sussing that out from Ignite, knowing how well they played it in the previous game. This time around, with the Kimmy and with a little bit more crowd control and reliable crowd control from the Kimmy itself, gives that kind of dimension that they want to play it around. But then the issue is if you play a macro game, then what do you throw into the mix?
You gotta have to get someone that can apply pressure well enough, especially when it comes down to Roma. Since they've already gotten the EXP laner and the goal and the mid laner that's already done that's already done out, right?
Yep.
So at least it
Badang.
doesn't really help with that cross map plays, but it does help them a lot when it comes down to playing as a team, that death ball kind of thing. It does definitely work out, and we have seen before just how strong they can eventually be. And this kind of play, they would probably want to play more into the early stages of the game, which is something that Chu is really good at, as long as they have some babysitting service or perhaps playing in a way whereby they are able to enable Chu in that sense.
Correct.
You know, 1-1 and his Granger. So was it Granger? I think yeah, 1-1
It
and
was
the
a
Granger.
Granger.
So far, early game power spikes is definitely strong for Chu. So I think that he must be one of the win condition, and they gotta have to cater the entire composition based around Chu.
Yeah. Might be the Bruno or might be even the carry to tear down the defenses that Lucas is going to definitely build up. Will be the Harith versus and the Hilda
Oh, 1-1 might be the play.
Hilda in this matchup doesn't really provide a lot except for
But a
holding the
cross
lane
map
around.
helps.
Yeah, cross map help, as well as just the lane Phobius because from the early game that's really just 3 strikes away. From the Harith, from
Oh, well
EVL,
spent. Okay.
IG might be able to pick out the carry. I don't think IG would be. Oh
Huh?
wait,
Kimi, oh, Kimi,
Kimi go
oh, Kimi
lane.
go lane.
Kimi go
Oh,
lane.
okay. Okay, so now they put in the Loi. It at least
Yeah.
made a little bit more sense now. They do have that the cross map plays. I, you know what? I, I,
I don't like the Kimi in the gold lane because
yeah,
the range that it provides and the rotational speed that Kimi should provide is thwarted by Harith's early game damage.
synchrovision.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
I would say that at the very least, it helps Fredrin a little bit more.
Yep.
It definitely puts you in a kind of worse spot, but as a team as a whole, if we're looking at the roaming trio, I much prefer this way that they
Correct.
put the Loi in here. So in terms of wave clear, in the early stages of the game, we've got a Loi as well as the Badang.
Yep.
We're going up against a Gato Kacha as well as a Jusin. I think they're relatively equal when it comes down to lane priority. So now we bring in the EXP laners, right? So this is going to be the Phobius as well as the Hilda. Hilda definitely has got lane priorities so much better. So this is probably going to be Ignite Gaming's game to play. They need to understand how do they want to move around the map and how do they want to enable especially the Kimi. Because Kimi is not that strong in the early game.
No.
So how do you want to bring your roaming trio to the gold lane, help Kimi out, and give Chu that early game lead, provided that he is the win condition?
Well, I guess the answer should be very effective wave clear in the early game and then start that rotation down. But true, aggressively pushing the lane around to Akashi. But this is definitely the last game of today. It's all stakes, throw everything out of the picture. The manipulation though from the draft goes over to the side of Ignite Gaming because I was not expecting Loi to come out again.
Yep. Especially after the Kimi was picked, we automatically subscribe to the idea that, yeah, that's a Kimi.
Yeah, it's a Kimi in the gold lane, in the mid lane.
Yeah, but throwing into the goal lane, I think that's a really nice curveball thrown right at us. Even I think for Everlasting Love themselves, right? Not expecting the Loi. So cross map plays, something that I love to see. We didn't see Blade being very trigger happy though, so that might be something that we probably would want to consider a little bit.
Yep.
And as to how Everlasting Love wants to react based on those.
Things are starting a little bit slow. Like I said, the Fredrin is a little bit slow on the jungle clear. Fake Cutie definitely much faster as Icon has to ramp up the tempo just a little bit. 15 seconds till the first Lord spawns up. The rotations are starting to come through as Vita trying desperately to get his level 4 to get the Demonic Force up and online.
I think this game really rests a lot onto Jet. Possibly just making sure that Sus Bomba will not be in one of the main battles, especially if Icon is leading the charge. We've seen it a couple of times before just because of the fact that Jusin is not there to really thwart the plans of a Fredrin. It really contributes to a massive factor. As you can see, right now, we've got Willy. He's really just right beside of Icon, and this is going to be a little bit of pressure that's going to be involved in that. In fact, I don't think that Ignite Gaming has got what it takes to really deal with this just because of the way the Everlasting Love is just kind of surrounding the turtle.
Resetting Turtle
Oh.
as Fake Cutie goes back to purple buff to try to get that valuable resources in his hands before initiating Turtle again. But this is very slow considering the fact that we have two mainly fighters slash tanks that are pushing and pulling the Turtle away. We also have Sus Bomba that's providing a lot of distance and range with the pepper spray. So now, Turtle, in a quarter of his health, doesn't look like Ignite Gaming will have it in them to contest for this one. Goes over the hands of Everlasting Love. Good. Small objective right from the early game.
I really like the movements from the side of Everlasting Love. They understood that, okay, if we started up in the purple buff, and of course with the Lord, with the turtle spawn up top, if we're not really getting anything, let me just double confirm, get myself that 50-50 advantage through levels by taking out our purple buff. And of course, knowing that he clears wave, or rather clears way faster than a Fredrin, that puts him in a way better spot. So I love that adaptability there.
So far, 3 minutes, 30 seconds into the game, no aggressive plays coming up from either side. They know that this is a high-stakes game, but version play coming to the bottom side, but I don't think they want to go for this. A little bit of a misread from Ignite Gaming as Everlasting Love, matching the tempo and the rotation. They know where they are at every one point of the time.
Not too big of a deal. As long as Ignite Gaming don't lose any members in the early stages, I think that they're gonna be fine. But in the meantime, I suppose that the main thing that we really gonna have to look out for is the mid stages. How much potential does both teams have? At least for Everlasting Love, because of the fact that they do have a Hilda as well as a Lucas, damage is definitely gonna soar through the roof. Well, for the side of Ignite Gaming, I am generally more concerned because the main thing that we're looking out when it comes down to damage is Blade. That's the burst damage that we can see. Everyone else, such as Jet, Icon, as well as Yuda, they gotta stay alive. They really gotta stay alive in order to do more damage over time. As the fight drags on longer, the more damage they will deal. So Everlasting Love, they need to understand that, okay, bring down the frontliners, bring down the main guy that really holds Ignite Gaming in place. And I would like to assume that it's Icon.
Speaking of which, Turtle getting spawned up, Icon busy working on valuable resources, getting a level advantage as Fake Cutie 1 level ahead of this Fredrin. And Ignite Gaming doesn't seem like they want to go for this main objective. Second third of the game at the 5-minute mark. They see this diversion play. Here comes Jet right from the background. Hits in a wall into the no fist crack as of now as Ignite touch and go. Turtle at half. Turtle at the third. Icon finding it hard to get even close as Utah tries to start things off. AOG knocks up all entrance. Fake Cutie starting things off with Unleash the Beast. Got a fist crack down into Willie. Is Icon taking a little bit too much damage, getting pulled back as well. Icon will be the first to fall as Fake Cutie picks that one up.
Yeah, there's really not much that you could do, especially when you are within of the Crimson Beacon by Sus Bomba. You can't just casually just walk away. That is a tall order, asking Fredrin to walk out of Sus Bomba. In fact, that is a very aggressive play from Everlasting Love themselves to put that juice in right in the face of Icon, because that's the main problem that Fredrins generally have, and that is to close the gaps between himself and the mage.
Speaking of which, though, that one kill from Icon onto Icon actually really accelerated the progress that Everlasting Love have. And this is, remember, this is the 6-minute mark. We should be able to see the rotations coming in from the gold lane into the mid side as well. Chu's finding it a little bit tougher to sustain himself in the gold lane as you put a traditional marksman. Now with the Kimmy, yeah, you have a little bit more range, but you need more time to get your damage online, and you have to maintain the stacks that your passive provides. Fake Cutie already in position as Everlasting Love tries to go on the aggressive on the front foot. They know that they want to be able to try to convert more kills into objectives, but they just can't. They don't want to risk the under turret plays.
Good timing coming from Jet. Just managing to catch, I think that was Fake Cutie. It was either Fake Cutie or it was Kyushu that was just making his way down over to the bottom lane. Literally just by the hair, saw that, and Chu just had to hide within her brushes, and even had to use a diversion, if I recall correctly, for Blade and Icon to relocate down the bottom in the event that they need to go for a counter attack.
Last turn of the game, spawning up in a little under 5. As Ignite Gaming pulls it back with the traction files. Here comes the fist crack down onto it. AOG to stop off all advances from Ignite Gaming as they pop that Crimson Beacon Flicker away from disaster. As Everlasting Love able to keep that Juicin alive. Yuda taking a little bit of chip damage from Willie. The one-on-one. Turtle getting a reset as well. Kyushu, a little bit too much damage taken as well.
Oh, no,
Kyushu will be able to go down here by the hands of Chu. The fist crack won't do too much as Blade takes down yet another one. Willie down deep into enemy territory, blocked by that wall. Icon takes down that turtle as Willie is the next to fall. Will be able to pop that flickers. Icon will not be able to say anything about it. They take two, they take that turtle, they take what they can, and they equalize the scoreline once again.
Damn, I actually got confused with the health bars, but I was just looking out for Icon this whole time. But that was indeed a very good taunt coming in from Icon just to keep Kyushu in place. And from that point on, now they have lost Kyushu. It really just boils down to, you know, bring down everyone else from the side of Everlasting Love. Akashi just so happens to be dropped down at the same time too. So it was just a losing battle without Akashi. In fact, actually, this is the third turtle. So you would want to see typically a 5v5 fight, but they already lost 3 within the first 2 seconds in.
No diversions were actually used up by Blade at that point to try to draw attention away from Chu. But Akashi, unfortunately though, still early into his power spike, doesn't have this core items as of yet to do any damage at all to Icon. And Icon is just a one-man army in the midst of battle, taking on 3 while he's letting his lads at the back just handle the Hilda. On the top side though, Willie trying to suss out a little bit of information as Icon desperately protecting Chu. That's the traction boost onto Akashi. No minions, but popping the Zaman Force. Available resources taken out. That is a call for Fake Q to take down Blade as well. No more backups coming in from Ignite Gaming.
Well, that's not the end of the fight. As middle lane, we do have Jet flickers away.
We have the Demonic Force by Yuta finding the flank onto Saswamba. He will not be able to do too much as of now, but AOG lands Yuta getting pulled back as long as well as the Icon. Energy Eruption won't be erupted as of now. No locks, no roots as Ignite Gaming wants to play it a little bit more safe.
Early neck and neck in terms of kills. When it comes down to the economy, very close as well. It's just 100 gold difference, so negligible differences. It was 10 minutes into the game, and both teams are dead even. For Ignite Gaming, as a team that did lose against Everlasting Love in their matchup before, I think that for Ignite Gaming, they're doing a lot better. Holding on to their ground, or rather, they're doing well holding on to their ground going into this Everlasting Love. The timer is ticking though, as Willie is starting to lose effectiveness as the game slowly starts to inch to the late stages.
A little bit of a mistake from Icon. I knew he wanted to juggle the Lord, but he was a little bit low on health. Push back AOG, stopped in its tracks by Kyushu though.
Huh?
He knows that I don't know, I saw an AOG.
I saw an AOG.
It just stopped right there. I don't know what stopped him. Might have been Jet though. Right before the CC immunity, right before the iframe. But Yuta taking a little bit too much damage on the back line. You got a Crimson Beacon. All members of Everlasting Love collapses onto this Phobius. It's going to be a numbers game as of now with Ignite Gaming fighting as 4. Icon half health. I don't think he will be able to sustain this display. Taking a little bit too much damage from the mid side. Turtle, the Lord, getting a reset as well as Icon. The only saving grace for them. Getting that pullback. Jet trying to find an angle. Nice AOG to disrupt that fight as well. Kyushu trying to push that fight back. It's Willie taking a little bit too much damage, getting rooted, getting mobilized down. Will not be enough to take him down as well. So Swamp on the back line, forced to use that flicker out of the way. Ignite Gaming still barely hanging on.
There was a lot of small little windows of opportunity posed over to Ignite Gaming. Time and time again, we're just looking at number 1, Sus Bomba got caught. Number 2, Fate Cutie actually popped his ultimate as well, but didn't draw any form of dividends. Time and time again. As such, Everlasting Love wasn't even able to get themselves a lot because of those small gaps that they gave over to Ignite, where Ignite actually managed to use it effectively.
Back to square one. Icon starting things off with the Lord, trying to pull it back as well. Traction Pulse will not land on Sus Bomba. A little bit of a trigger happy use of a Crimson Beacon to get out safe and reposition himself. As the Lord gets another reset. Good resource allocated for Everlasting Love though.
Now this is where the macro plays is not possible for Ignite Gaming. While in the meantime, it is very much possible for Everlasting Love if they very much want to, because Willie is a very fast-moving EXP laner. If they really want to make their way up to the top lane, they can actually do so, because now they are losing the T1 up top just from neutral passive, or rather neutral creeps.
Icon really desperately needs to get a reset. I think the adjustments into the Lord really starting to hurt a tank jungler. He can't really tank that much hits from the Lord, and he needs to be able to get another reset onto that Lord. It's been roughly around 5 minutes that we've been having that push and pull. Abstract, what is going on, and what is the play for Everlasting Love?
Honestly, Everlasting Love, they're not exactly on a timer at this point in time, because they are bound to win in this Lord fight. Because throughout all this back and forth, we'll talk about that later.
AOG into the traction pulse. Kyushu, palms that immortality right underneath that. Akashi dashes, weaves, Bob dances around with the Zaman Force. Icon almost goes down. They lose 2-1. It's a trade. The Gato for the Phobius, and it's back again to square one.
Okay, so this is the topic I want to talk about, right? Fate Cutie is currently at level 15. Throughout the entire time when Icon was just trying to pull the Lord out, there was valuable time and EXP that's wasted. Fate Cutie used that opportunity to go around farming and clearing waves to get himself to the level 15.
Ooh. Traction Pulse already used up a little bit way too early. There's a lone 15. Unleash the Beast coming in, but not enough. Chu will take him out of the game. There's a fist crack directly onto Kashi. Chu with the double. Make it a triple as Chu takes it down from the mid side. Willie trying to run for his life as Icon tries to settle this Hilda once again. The Lord will go over to the hands of Ignite Gaming.
That was big, but in the meantime, this is the playback that we have got. Kyushu went in first and only to eat up the entire Traction Pulse, which led to their demise and of course leaving to one death onto their mark. They don't even need Yuda for this upcoming fight as a matter of fact, but we move on to this this upcoming, or rather we move on to what's going on live, where the Lord has been picked up in favor of Ignite.
Nice Traction Pulse, but not enough damage to take Willie down. Still a tanky boy, as Jet's purpose is just to help set up for Chu. Look at the damage that this Kimmy is doing right now.
In just a short matter of time, we didn't really quite expect the kind of damage that Chu is able to bring out, but let's not forget, he is the marksman of the game at this point in time. Not your conventional mid-laner that we have seen time and time again.
Remember, he's got a Sky Piercer. He is 5 kills, 0-1. That means 50 stacks onto this Sky Piercer. That is so much damage and so much execution that Chu is able to take. The Traction Ball start things off in the mid side. They're holding on to all of their ultimates. They don't want to use the AOG just as of yet. Kyushu.
It's only eventually still the middle lane turret eventually goes down. You have the Lord is just marching up top. Of course, land, or rather Chart, crashes down. Quite a bit of high ground damage from Ignite Gaming, or just primary pokes going on. With both Blade and Chu just poking into Everlasting Love. That's more than enough to really just send people flying.
Nice little Traction Pulse in a slow motion. Sus Bomba has enough time to pop the Crimson Beacon out of the way to get a reposition. But it's a crucial resource that's already utilized by this Juicin. As much as Ignite Gaming is able to force the issue down on their own homes, they are unable to take down any. Actually, I spoke too soon. The T3 bottom side is open, so that means Ignite Gaming has everything in them for a nice little backdoor diversion play if they so wish.
In fact, they don't really need to do that, because the bottom lane turret going down is actually placed so well into Ignite's hands, because they are not exactly a team that has a lot of cross-map play as a solo member. If they want, they can cross-map into ganks and skirmishes, but not for lane pressure. And right now, just because of the fact that they have mega creeps down at the bottom, that's a naturally moving lane working in favor for them. And on the opposite side of the lane, that's the Lord. So if they ever want to fight for the Lord, they just need to hold it out, wait until the lane naturally pushes in, force Everlasting Love to push the healer down to the bottom lane, and that's your time to strike.
Thunderbell has been bought by the Badang and the Fredrin. So the longer this game goes, Ignite Gaming will scale in its defense as Icon and Jet able to take a lot more hits. As Chu's damage starting to hurt, he does have a concentrated energy as well to heal everything back up alongside the Bloodwing, so he has the shield for extra bit of defense. Everlasting Love needs to be able to find a way to that back line. When you pick a Lucas, you need to be able to snowball, but they're finding it so challenging.
Guys?
Minions actually going in. Everlasting Love has to send someone to take care of the waves pushing in. So this looks like a free and easy Lord for Ignite.
And so now we do have the Lord is coming down to a low amount of HP, while in the meantime Kyushu is opening up, and Fate, he's actually already used Unleash the Beast.
Oh, that's a little bit too soon. Blade actually takes the Lord from underneath the nose of Fate Cutie from the back line. Chu dishing out the damage that he so desperately earned. Yuta leading the charge. That's a 5-man death ball onto the face of Everlasting Love.
I don't understand. Why is Fate Cutie the one that walked in first? I think I can generally understand if the Lord is coming down to an all-time low amount of HP and you really want to go in and snipe, but only to be completely yoinked out by Ignite Gaming. So that is definitely a really tough spot. But now, we do have the Lord that will be marching in from the bottom lane. Middle lane creep waves is just marching in too, so that is a definite T3 that's in favor for them.
Tournament lives are at stake. As such, the Lord marching down south will make its approach a foot into their homes. Everlasting Love, they do have some form of high ground from the back line. Icon finds Willie Chu, dealing way too much damage for him to handle. Jet goes down, not unless he has that fist crack to stop that approach, as Everlasting Love still has 4 members to try to desperately defend. 120 seconds, that's 2 minutes on clock for the last Lord of the Game to spawn up, but their house is a barren wasteland.
So that is what Ignite Gaming needs for themselves. All mega creeps from top, middle to bottom. They no longer have to care too much about cross-map plays anymore. This is the 5v5 game that they need to perfect. If ever they need a diversion to jump over to the back lines just so that Icon will be able to get a little bit closer to the back lines, that is all going to be fine and dandy. But unfortunately, if they want to do that, it needs to be in the absence of the Lord. Otherwise, Icon might lose out that crucial opportunity of tapping the Retribution.
Taking a look at itemizations right here, does look like the boots has been sold by Chu just to get a little bit more defense with the Winter Crown. If AOG lands, that's the Winter Crown being popped, so he's free and fine to free hit from that back line. And you can see the way that Ignite Gaming plays is towards Chu. It's for Chu to carry them to victory. Traction Pulse lands onto Willie alongside the taunt, alongside the fist crack. Tanking a lot of damage, able to walk out.
No way!
But not until Blade has something to say about it. That is Chu on the back. Blade goes down by the hands of Fake Cutie. AOG lands. You got their Q-Shoe right from the back line, but no one can reach Chu. He's just free hitting from the back. Finally goes down by the hands of Q-Shoe. That's 2v3. Ignite Gaming has to run for the hills, has to run for their lives as Everlasting Love buys some time for themselves.
How is Chu hitting himself? Was it just from the DOT? Because I don't see any
There's no
flaming.
vengeance, there's no
vengeance.
counter attack mechanic.
Does it blade armor?
Maybe blade armor. Magical damage? What is magic damage? It's still basic attack. It's still basic attack.
Okay, I thought even the magical even basic attack is magical damage.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. So blade armor, that's nice. I was thinking, well, wait, he's going down a little bit too fast.
Yuta taking a lot of damage, but you have the base to care for. Willie will take care of that. The diversion play will bring more reinforcements coming in as well. Kyushu deep in enemy territory. The Lord will get a reset. It's not looking good for Everlasting Love. They don't have Icon right in the mix. They should have just blitzed it down.
But in the meantime, down in the base as well, creeps are starting to slowly flow in, and Ignite Gaming can see that Harif is no longer in play. But of course, it really depends. Now the bottom, now the lanes is, or rather the base is completely filled up. They don't see Harif anymore. They can't stop.
Traction Pulse to start things off. This Immortality being popped by Yuda.
They can't stop.
Able to walk away safely. AOG will not land. One on the back line. You have Willie taking out 4 members and their hits. You got a fist crack already utilized by Jet. But from the mid side, they take down Yuda. No Phobias to be able to buy enough range for Chu to do his thing. But Chu losing the stacks from the Sky Piercers is gonna hurt. It's not enough. It's not enough for Ignite Gaming. They're gonna jump in. Lord at a 10th of their HP. Big Cutie seals the deal. Lord goes down to the hands of Everlasting Love. They need to be able to buy some time for their base. The minions are starting to pour in. 60 seconds on the clock. Oh, minions though. Minions are starting to pour in. Blade. It's not enough for them. They have that Lord in their possession. 60 seconds on the clock.
That was the timing. If Ignite Gaming was able to hold it out just a little while longer, just play a little bit of a push and pull, it would be great. But unfortunately, the Lord was not completely resetted by the time they go for this final fight and such. Look at the base. It was flooded. It was completely flooded.
Fate really sealing the deal, taking care of the Lord before taking out Chu for dinner. Now, Ignite Gaming on that defense is a constant push and pull the entirety of this game, but the ball is in Everlasting Love's court. Or should I say the Lord is a lot of damage onto Fake Cutie, saving Unleash the Beast for that disasterly charge, but I don't think will be over as of now. As Ignite Gaming pouring their way out, the reinforcements are here.
Okay, so now that's enough for Everlasting Love. There is still a lot that's up to the northern side. If they want to contest for this, for Everlasting Love that is, they can, but I would strongly suggest against it. just getting themselves that CT turret is more or less enough. They don't have to overextend themselves and play within of Ignite's Gaming's home.
Ignite Gaming. 5-man defense up on the top side. Fracture Pulse will pull quick Cutie back, but AOG will disperse, dissipate. The Crimson Beacon will pour in as well. Kyushu's taking all the damage that Chu is dishing out. He's picking up what he's putting down. His Everlasting Love. They lose Kyushu, then they back off. Holding on to the diversion play, they might be able to make something work here, but Ignite Gaming is more passive than that. They want to play for that defense. It's 12 kills to 12. Everlasting Love is 8,000 gold ahead of Ignite Gaming, but gold lead doesn't matter at this point. It's all about the momentum. It's all about finding the right targets.
That was a fine push. They managed to just sacrifice Kyushu only just for that T3 turret up north. So that's
Jet! With a huge fist crack, chasing up Sus Bomba from the back line though. Willie freely hitting the back line. You don't have Icon anymore. Unleash the Beast saving that, hitting its mark and taking Jet down with him. Yuta left all alone to his own devices. It's Chu and Blade against the Everlasting Love team.
I think that's almost game, right? That is about a minute of timer that is going to be clocked in over to Ignite Gaming. The Lord is currently available. That is if Everlasting Love wants to blitz this Lord down. They want to move on to the middle lane. Technically they can as well, but it is very risky.
Holding on to that Crimson Beacon was huge for Sus Bomba. If he used it a little bit early when Icon was on his back, that might have been over. Nice little shot from Fake Cutie to seal the deal as well, but it can't seem to reach Chu.
Oh boy, so now it goes down to the wire. Both teams have got quite a bit of advantage when it comes down to the map pressure. The only thing different is Everlasting Love have yet to breach through the bottom lane T3. But fortunately, they do have the Lord that will be marching in from the middle lane, preparing to pillage everything that Ignite Gaming has got left in its base. And that ultimately will be the core.
Ignite Gaming, very precarious situation. It's a waiting game for all of them. Everlasting Love desperately trying to sync up all the ways, but look at that top side though. I think the Super Minions will be able to handle that one, but if they're not too careful, the Minions might be able to breach through.
Well, it's the wave clear that's a problem for Ignite. There's a small little wave is a little bit difficult for them. So far, we haven't really quite seen some amazing divergent plays. If they want to do anything, even right now, I don't think it's going to be a great deal. They need to defend this head on the back.
Let's backdoor play into the diversion play into a backdoor. Icon start things off with the energy eruption. AOG to split things off. The Lord getting pulled back away from the throne. Akashi is just dashing, weaving, bobbing away, dealing a lot of damage. Sus Bomba already down. Kyushu might be the next to fall, but they take down that Lord and they will extend this game.
Wait,
Ignite Gaming
hold on.
is not giving up another fight. And speaking of fight, Akashi getting caught out by Jet, but it's not enough. Jumping over the wall. Ignite Gaming still barely hanging on, losing an Icon. It's a huge, huge blunder onto them. No, not a lot of front lines anymore as they try to extend this one. He will be up before the next Lord, and so this might be the last Lord of the game.
This will be the last Lord of the game. Looking at the battle spells and the Lord's timing, Akashi will not have his Purify even 20 seconds after the Lord spawns. But when it comes down to Revitalize, that will be back. However, Willie would not have the Flicker. On the other hand, looking at Ignite Gaming, one of the main few core players will have their Flicker. All of those battle spells are ready to go. So in the very event that they need to go for a counter attack, or if they want to jump over to Everlasting Love, especially take control and make full use of the fact that there's no Purify under Akashi, the time is this upcoming Lord. They need to pull the trigger.
Speaking of which, Lord spawning in the next 4 seconds. Ignite Gaming trying to draw a little bit more distance and maintain the pressure down the side waves. They need to be able to know that they can fight this Lord, they can dance around this Lord without worrying about the backdoor opportunities Everlasting Love likes to play. Remember, we saw Sus Bomba with the Kimmy doing slight backdoor plays, but now, not without a Kimmy, a Juice in. Will the same thing happen? It might definitely be possible. The only thing that I think is underwhelming for me is the way that Blade plays with the diversions. Holding on to it for far too long, but both teams taking the dance away from the Lord Den.
Unfortunately, I don't feel the pressure coming in from Diversion. Whenever he pops out Diversion, they have been committing to it. We haven't really quite seen a Diversion just to scout out rushes, to kind of psych out where they could possibly be. These are small little mental plays that Blade could potentially put into his arsenal, but that has never really happened before. Purifying. Also available for Akashi, but unfortunately for Ignite Gaming, they actually waited out a little bit too long, where Everlasting Love has got all the better spells that they need for this upcoming fight. This is completely 50-50.
The mid lane minion siege though is not 50-50 anymore. Ignite Gaming does have a little bit more upper hand. The waves are pushing in their favor. They just need to know whether Everlasting Love is splitting their resources. The waves are pushing into Ignite's favor. They have everything in their resources to make this work. It's all down to Icon and Jet to make a nice play. They all have their resources ready. We're in for a big war.
Kyushu's positioning is ultimately going to be the most important thing that we're going to have to look out for. Is he going to initiate? How exactly is he going to initiate? Because most of the time, it seems like Everlasting Love is just baiting it out first. They want Ignite Gaming to be close together, trying to get the objective, and only then, when everyone is close together and of course not dying, that's when the AOG comes in, force everyone split up.
Nice reactions. Sus Bomba down to health. Blade just popped in a burst combo. It might not be enough for Everlasting Love though.
Still push down in the bottom lane, but Ignite, they're gonna do that. Perhaps just turn things around a little bit for that slow push. It's more than enough. They even pushed Jet down to the bottom lane. So at least if anyone were to try to go for a little bit of that cross map play, try to deal with that Kimmy, he's not all alone.
I don't know why Everlasting Love doesn't want to pull the trigger. They know that Chu and Jet is not around.
They don't know about Jet. But they know that Chu is not around.
Maybe so. So they're sending both of their marksmen back into the base to clear out the minions.
This is
Icon
important though.
desperately trying to pull it back. Look at the health bar off that Lord. No team can blitz it down as of this point. There's a 30-minute game though. Everlasting Love really likes Everlasting games.
Indeed. We are 31 minutes into this game at this point in time.
13 minutes short of the world record, not really world record, Singapore record of the longest game.
What a day.
What a day. Supposed to be best of 1, but it really feels like a best of 12.
At this point in time, I think we tell everyone about our work timing, they would believe.
Nah. Nar.
Nar?
Nar.
Nar.
Lord gets another reset though. Ignite Gaming still has a chance as much as Everlasting Love. It's even Stevens at this point. 16 kills to 13. 31, 33. No one's pulling the trigger as of now. Look at Jet's. Jet has the Thunderbelt.
Okay.
Icon has the Thunderbelt. Look at the damage that Everlasting Love does onto them.
Okay.
It's literally negligible.
You know what? This is going absolutely nowhere.
Actually, can we get the production to show the Thunderbelt stacks? Because I think it will be interesting to see how much they have built over the course of all of this.
I don't think that they will be able to show it unless, wait, hold on a second.
No,
that's one of the big
though.
divergence. They managed to see a little bit at least into a glimpse.
Another reset for the Lord.
You know what does this mean? This is a time for...
No. We don't go that far. But you know who's going to go far? It's the minions. Everlasting Love, bottom side, is in shambles. They see Akashi going down the bottom side. Look at where...
Sus Bomba!
Oh, Sus Bomba! Oh! Fire attraction post! That might be it! Chu takes them down! Yuda on the back line, Kyushu!
Akashi's
taking a little bit too much as well. Willie! Oh, it's just waiting for the right time. The diversion play on the back side. They don't see it! They see Blade though! Blade taking a little bit too much damage. The reactions will not be enough. Blade goes down! First fit to infinity and beyond. They lose one after another. 2 down for Everlasting Love against 3-4 members of Ignite Gaming.
Jet.
Yet another wall. They're building up. Akashi's right here. Able to take down Icon though. One more hit. Might be able to go down. AOG is sent back. I thought he would go in for a re-engage, but we're back to square one. Icon can't take this Lord now. They all need to get a reset.
Okay, I'm sorry, but what the hell was that one-man diversion play?
I think he failed to see where AQD was, but I think that the vision granted by the diversion would have been a huge indicator. Unfortunately though, or fortunately though for Everlasting Love, he will be able to quite another day. They don't really have Sus Bomba anymore in a very precarious position. They don't really have a way to try to effect
4v5.
on the back line, but we've seen Fake Cutie do this once or twice. Lord getting reset once again.
It's a 4v5. Or rather 4v3 actually, but Sus Bomba is going to be coming out soon, and one of the core ways that Ignite Gaming would have fought back without being too scared of the Juicin, that timing is about to be over, because Sus Bomba has now effectively joined back into the fight, and Icon realizes this. Time for him to recall.
It's just 2 damage from that Lord. It kind of seems like a library. Pin drop silence all over the map. Yeah, you send Akashi down to the bottom side just to handle the waves, but then you're back onto the Lord pit. The Lord's just coming out of their house. I think if we were the Lord, I'd be pissed. Like, why are you disturbed? I just want to stand here. Why are you pulling me and then just making me go back? Dude. Dude.
Dude.
I'm not your bro, dude.
I'm not your dude, bro.
What's my name, man? Sweet.
Dude. No, trust me, this is gonna be reset again.
Yep, it's gonna be reset again.
Definitely.
I think so.
Definitely.
Yeah, Kyushu's in position though.
Yeah,
Still has
they're not gonna jump
the just waiting for the traction pulse coming in from Chu, but everything's
Jet
just
got his,
really bad out.
flicker.
Yep, you're right. You called it. Lord getting reset back to his home. He wants to take a nap. Just leave him alone.
The main target for Jet at the very least is to suss out where Sus Bomba is. Once he sees Sus Bomba, and once he realizes that, okay, now's the time, then only then we'll flicker in. But because of the naturally pushing waves down in the bottom lane, it kind of seems as though Ignite Gaming is the one that is on a back foot.
Oh man, Chu's not in position though. Lord down low, AOG to block off the entrances. Fate seals the deal with the Lord take, and they rush back. They know that they need to defend. They can play the slow game, they can play the long game. The longer this goes, the stacks will keep coming in strong. I'm still waiting to see the Thunderbell stacks though. I think it will be immense. Oh. 35-minute game, 8 minutes before it becomes a world record.
The odds are just unfortunately stacked against Ignite Gaming because of the naturally pushing waves in the bottom lane and the middle lane. This is not something that any one of them could have predicted or calculated. The slow wave just kind of go ping pong, back and forth, and this is the outcome, with Ignite Gaming losing out with a flip of the coin.
Speaking of which, Kyushu doesn't have the AOG. Okay, he just got back the AOG so he can split up the team fights. But there's a lot of range that Chu is able to dish out. That's an immortality for 4 members of Ignite Gaming. Unleash the beast onto the back line. Fake Cutie just going in strong, going in ham. Icon goes down as well. Immortality pops up. Got a Winter Crown as well. Willie gets trapped up by the fist crack. Icon goes down. It might be over right here as Everlasting Love makes it to the playoffs.
Damn! Everlasting Love, everlasting these games. That means the Indo player will have everlasting games. Oh, damn, man. I'm casting all 3 days.
Second longest game of today. I think 36-minute mark, which is basically 6 minutes short of the longest game that we have today, which was 43 minutes. I never thought I'd see today.
I've never thought as well. But, man, Ignite Gaming, they were just this close. This close. They were the first team that managed to, out of these two, right? They were the first one to manage to bring a barren wasteland on the opposite side.
Yeah.
They managed to have all that, art stacked with them. They should be able to get some really nice, naturally pushing lanes down to the bottom lane. The longer that they play it out, the better it is for them. Once they find the opportunity, hey, look, Harif and Hilda went down to the bottom lane.
Let's just start things off. Let's start things off.
And at a point in time, the Lord was still, technically speaking, burstable to a certain extent, right? So even if you don't burst down the Lord, it's okay, because the main thing is you want to take advantage in that 3v5 situation.
Yeah.
But they couldn't jump the gun well enough. Why? They have Jet that flickers in and, sets things up. But unfortunately, that is realistically the only thing that they can do, unless they bring in the diversion into play, which unfortunately, that never happened.
Yeah, the entire game, I was a little bit underwhelmed to how Blade utilized the Lua E. Typically, you would expect the diversions to go left, right, and center, try to find backdoor plays, try to find at least back line plays, but it's always Blade going on as a lonesome. I think in that game, there have some miscommunication issues. Chu was popping off. He was locked in and carrying the entire game on his shoulders. Look at his kills, 11. The rest of the members, no kills at all, but you
That's
know,
fine.
barely supporting Chu. As long as he goes down, Everlasting Love has a big chance of winning it out. I think at the end, Fake Cutie was just, I have enough. I want to just go in. You guys can just follow up, just target the throne and just take this down. I want to go home. I want to take a nap.
I just want to say that Chu, despite having such a scoreline, he's actually having such a difficult time
Yeah.
managing resources just because of Kyushu.
Yep.
That blade armor plus that passive physical defense
Yep.
from Antiquiras plus the Sky Guardian's helmet puts his HP so high above the threshold of what Chu is capable of receiving when he shoots all these pellets over to Kyushu. Kyushu will survive with like what? One quarter HP, while Chu would have been dead all from his own pellets.
Yeah. I guess Ignite Gaming had the upper hand right from the start, but unfortunately can't seem to close this out. Blade was too passive, was too defensive
I
into
agree.
how he wanted to use the diversions. If he was a little bit risky, that
With that,
might have been it
mm,
for Everlasting Love because they couldn't defend against their own minions, and the
yeah,
waves were pushing in their favor. They just couldn't play the macro game.
yeah. There's a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda for this game, especially for Blade. They really could have been able to play together as one. I just find it a little bit of a pity that we don't see the diversion from Blade that sends the who is that again? Sends Icon
Icon.
into the midst of the fight. Kind of crazy, right? Because
Dang.
normally we are used to like 15 minutes or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a little more fast paced. But congratulations to Kyushu,
makes sense.
Kato Kacha, using the blade armor to his full potential, 2, 4, and 10 in the KDA score line. In total goal 16,000. You don't see that often from a
From
roam.
a room. Oh my goodness. Damage taken 324,000 damage taken. Boy, oh boy. And of course, 2 is to 4 is to 10. Of course, with a total KP of 63%. We did talk about the items previously just now as well, which really made Chu have so much difficulty in playing his game.
Yeah, yeah, I have to agree with you 100%. But you know, this is it for the game. We've talked